Well, here we are. We're starting the offseason of year number 2, going into year number 3 now with your ZSC Lions, and year number 10, I believe, of the entire Road to Glory series. We did unfortunately lose in just about the worst way possible to HC Davos. We were up 3-0 in this series and lost 4 straight. And of those 4 straight games, we lost 3 in a row without scoring a single goal, and all of them were 1-0. An unbelievable end in the worst way possible. We should have had that series. And unfortunately, to make matters worse here, Alexander Kisakov, our best skater, does not want to re-sign with us. I can't even negotiate a contract with him. He wants to test the market no matter what. So we're in a bit of a tough spot here. We're losing our top scorer, and we have to try to find a way to get over the hump that is closing out a series in the playoffs, because for some reason this team can't do it. Not only this past season, but last season as well, we had a 3-1 lead in the second round, and we lost that series too. Now, granted, that was against a much better team. However, when it's against a team like Davos that we just lost to, 74 points, I mean, they didn't just barely make the playoffs because they were several points ahead of the Lakers, who were in 9th, but still, being that they were the weakest team in the playoffs as far as standings go, and the fact that we lost to them in that fashion, it's just, that is so brutal. We certainly have our work cut out for us here in this offseason, so let's get right to it. Here we go, final season score. We did get 4 positive categories, meaning our total season score is 28, total career score is 273. I'll max out discipline, and I think I'll start working on tactics and motivation for my head coach ratings. Oh, and forgot to mention, the winner of the National League playoffs is Lausanne. So congratulations to them. They beat out the former champions, the SC Bern. They had won 2 in a row before, so they were vying for a 3rd championship, but they were swept out by Lausanne. So now we make our way to July 1st. Okay, well, this is interesting. We have gotten a job offer from the Henderson Silver Knights of the AHL. We haven't won in Europe yet, so we're not going to do that. But it's good to know that we are now officially a good enough general manager to get a job offer from an AHL team. But once again, we cannot move on to the AHL until we have won here in Europe, so we are going to reject that. And it appears our owner, Peter Zahner, has sold the ZSC Lions. So our new owner is now Claudio Scherer. We do have a budget of $18.4 million now. It was at, I believe it was somewhere in the 17 millions before. So that might just be the budget increase that we got from having a winning season. But still, nonetheless, that is a pretty significant difference. That's like 1 or 2 more players that we can sign. Okay, so let's see what we need here going to this offseason. We have 2 goaltenders in Reeson and Bouchard. They're both pretty good. I would like to maybe get 1 more to back them up, just in case we get an injury there. On defense, you have Meyer, Koch, Dufer, Gwinchard, Payer, Fiedler, Geiser, and Bieri. I would like to increase our depth on defense, or if we can find one a 3.5-star or a 4-star, but those are kind of rare considering most of those players are going to be over in either the AHL or the NHL. And for forwards, I would like to definitely get at least 2 or 3 more, preferably in the 2.5 to 3-star range. But I think what's most important for this team is to get players who actually know how to close out a playoff series. I'm not sure how to find those players, but I guess, determination, like a mental category, is going to be a huge part of it. And it is worth noting that we do have 1 foreigner spot open, so we can afford to bring in anyone who we want for that 1 spot. All right, I think we're going to go after Michael Cassat here. He is 22 years of age. His screening's at 17. His determination's at 17. Wish his team player was a bit higher, but I think his determination makes up for it. If we take a look at his stats, he played with Vegas last season as well as the Florida Everblades. But he also played with Lausanne, who of course were the champions of the NL. And as we take a look at the playoffs, he did appear to play in the playoffs for Lausanne last year. In 14 games played, he had 8 points and a 61 grade. And he is also the best Swiss player on the market, at least as far as young players go. And I wanted to try to find a young player, so we are going to sign him. Next, I want to pick up Jonas Siegenthaler. He was actually with ZSC for a pretty good portion of his career, not only early on, before he was even drafted in the NHL, but also during the 2027 through 2030 seasons. And he's had some pretty solid grades as a defensive defenseman throughout the simulation. So I think I would like to sign him, presuming He does not want anything too expensive. I mean, yeah, that's doable. $700,000 for 1 year. I will certainly do that. And next, we are going to be making a foreigner signing. That is Isaac Forsberg. He has a very well-rounded defensive category as well as offensive category. 15 determination. Team player is a bit low, but I hope once again that the determination can make up for that. Physical ratings aren't bad. And as we take a look at his career history, he was with Rogel for the past few seasons. As last season, he had 28 points in 50 games in the SHL with a 66 grade, so that means he was probably really good defensively. Not only that, he was also champion with them in the SHL and in the Spengler Cup. And then during the playoffs last season, he had 11 points in 19 games played. So he's obviously not much of a goal scorer, but I'm hoping he can set up more goals for our guys who do know how to score goals so that we are not nearly as dry in the playoffs as we were this past season. So he is asking for $800,000 for 3 years. That is not a problem. We do have quite a bit of budget, so I'll give him $850,000 for 3 years. I am also going to be signing Jeremy Jabola Prada and Nicholas Schmid. Well, unfortunately, Isaac Forsberg is no longer interested. So what that means is we're going to go ahead and try to sign Oliver Kapanen. He was with Leksands for the past few seasons. 44 points last season in the SHL in 52 games played, 66 grade. As we look at his ratings, shooting accuracy is at 17. Hopefully he can help get us quite a few goals. So we're going to offer him a contract. And in fact, I'm going to give him, just to make sure we get him, I'm going to give him $1.15 million. And I'm going to give him 2 years instead. And he likes that offer. Okay, so besides Isaac Forsberg, we got all the other players that we wanted, who we approached with a contract. So we now have 28 players on the roster. We're going to have to make some cuts, but that's fine with me, especially after last season's ending during the playoffs. So hopefully this year we'll have some guys who can step up to the plate during the playoffs and, actually win us a championship. So with that being said, let's get right to, I believe, the start of the Champions Hockey League, because the Champions Hockey League starts sometime in late August. And presuming the first place team during the regular season always gets in, we should be in the Champions Hockey League again this year. All right, so we are at the start of the preseason. Well, technically we're at the start of the Champions Hockey League tournament. And I believe this is the preliminary part of the tournament since the bracket is not filled in yet. So we're just going to go through this first part quickly. Then we'll go through the preseason. And then once we get to the actual tournament games, then we'll see them in the slow simulation. Well, unfortunately, we did lose one of our players to the NHL, specifically to Vegas. Michael Cassatt has signed with the Vegas Golden Knights. We did sign him this past offseason, so it looks like he's leaving us much earlier than anticipated. The good news is, though, we did go 3-1 in the preliminary part of the Champions Hockey League. We had a 3-1 win against Assat, a 4-3 loss. That was our only loss so far against the Bordeaux Boxers. Then we had a 6-3 win against Karlskoga, and then a 4-3 win against Assat once again. So now we have the preseason to go through, and once we have finished that, we'll end things off, and we'll start the regular season in the next one. All right, unfortunately, we did not have the strongest preseason. We did obviously do well in the Champions Hockey League preliminaries, but not the case here in preseason. We did have 2 wins, one against the Lakers and then another against Genève Servette, but then we had 3 losses, a 4-2 loss, a 3-2 loss, and a 3-2 loss. Now we're going to check out the player stats. I believe this is just for preseason. This does not include the Champions Hockey League preliminaries. So Oliver Kapanen, one of our new players, 5 points in 5 games. Good to see him on the board. Hope he can continue that into the regular season. Then you have Trug with 3, Lindman with 3. Everyone else, bit underwhelming. And in goal, you have Riesen with an 897, really. And then a 936 for Bouchard. So at least we have 2 capable goaltenders, but I would like to see Riesen obviously get back to the numbers what he had for the past 2 regular seasons, which I'm sure he will. I mean, obviously this was only 3 games. So I think with that, we'll end things off here. And in the next one, we will get to the Year 3 regular season simulation with your ZSC Lions.